Hello folks, Florentine Saint-Yves here. Welcome to the third and final episode of the Tourney Compendium series. As we've covered mechanics and builds, we are now ready to jump into the arena and use this knowledge to obliterate everyone. Hopefully. In this episode, I will explain you how to evaluate potential targets, I will give you some advice you can use during events and challenges, and we will take a closer look to Zodiac heroes to see if they are worth building. In tourneys, you always want to hit targets that will give you the most points. As such, the best targets are the ones that have a high hero count relative to their kingdom power. It means their heroes aren't strong, so you'll have an easy time to score many points. Walt Clemenceau has developed a formula to determine whether a player is worth considering or not. You can use it if you will, but with time, you'll quickly be able to spot a juicy target by just looking at his number of heroes and his kingdom power. A player with an index of 20 or lower with Walt's formula is considered as a potential target. Usually you can find more than one player with such a low index, so focus on the juiciest of those and ignore the rest. You can also see the results of players I fight to gain quality XP every day. You also have to adjust to your own build, because you still have to clear the target. If the target is good but too strong for you yet, it's no use. To this end, you will need one target for your top heroes, one for the rest of your top 12, one for your baseline heroes, and maybe one more for your in-between heroes. A general rule that I use is that if my hero I want to attack with has 10% or more attributes than the overall kingdom power of my target, I'm good to go. So for example, if my baseline has around 5 million attributes, I'm looking for someone with a maximum of 50 million kingdom power. But I mostly use auto mode. If you plan on going manual, you can probably raise the limit a little bit, as you will be able to pick up the weakest hero during wall rounds and to choose the correct buffs. Time to go into the battlefield. Local tourney challenge strategy is simple, it is all about scoring. To maximize it, use all your basic trials and additional attempts every day, then use as many dueling tokens as you have heroes, again every day. Remember that dueling tokens will double the score you gain during a fight, so most of your points are going to come from them. The challenge is active every 4 weeks, so be sure to build enough tokens beforehand. You will need 2 times the number of heroes you have, 4 times if you plan to go serious in the following cross-server tourney challenge as well. Doing your kingdom campaign expeditions on a regular basis should get you covered, as Castles 3 and 7 missions reward you dueling fragments and tokens. Finding good targets is easy as well. You can scroll through your server rankings, evaluate everyone in the top 100 and see who has too many heroes for their kingdom power. You can also ask your alliance members or people in the game chat to share good targets. If you use dueling tokens every day to build quality experience for your heroes, you likely already know who to target. Try to avoid hitting active players during this challenge though, and focus on players that have gone inactive. This way you won't hurt anyone and every active player gets a shot at scoring progress rewards. If your server is coordinated enough, some active players might ask to be farmed intentionally so that they get kicked out of top 100 and do not qualify for the upcoming cross-server challenge. As they know they will be focused because they unlocked too many heroes, this will increase your chances that your server wins the server rankings. If that happens on your server, you know you're in a good one. Reaching top 100 of your local tourney challenge will qualify you for the next level, the cross-server tourney challenge. It has a few unique features that deserve some explanation. First of all, you can't attack players from your own server. As such, finding targets is a lot harder because you have to know the player ID of your targets and nobody is going to give you them, except maybe players from your own server. You will have to figure them out yourself, and this is what scouting is about. Scouting means creating a new account on a server you are facing during the event, and look for targets there. Once you're done with the small tutorial that takes around 3 minutes, you're free to browse the server rankings page that contains all info about the top 100 players of the server, including their IDs. You have to browse them one by one, check their hero count compared to their kingdom power, and if you find someone interesting, you take note of his ID. Back to the cross-server tourney challenge, you enter these IDs and see if some players you scouted are eligible for the event. They might be inactive or didn't make top 100, so be ready to miss a lot, and to prevent that from happening, take note of multiple IDs at once when you're scouting. If you're serious about it, it also may be a good idea to save those IDs somewhere, for example in a spreadsheet, if you happen to be up against this server again. You can also wait until close to the end of the day to see which server is on last position, and then go scouting. Always check the battle info when players defeat more than 20 heroes. It might give you the name of players being farmed, making the server ranking search faster. Second of all, remember that there are no wall rounds on cross-server tourney. All rounds are randomized, and heroes are sorted by ID. Because of this lack of wall, defense is much more difficult, and you can clear players that are stronger than you. Do not underestimate your power and don't be afraid to attack those stronger players to score more points, though be aware that they might fire back at you. Being unable to rely on your wall also means that your baseline becomes very important. For defense purposes, of course, but also for offense, as they are very likely to score more points than on local or alliance deathmatch. Instead of being destroyed on round 3, here your baseline can go way deeper than usual, as long as your heroes are stronger than your opponent-owned baseline. No wall rounds also allow you to map your opponents much more efficiently. Mapping is the act of taking notes about your opponent heroes, to see which ones are the strongest and thus ones you should avoid picking early. If you plan on farming a player more than once, it might be a good idea to do it. I usually use a spreadsheet for that as well, taking notes of every hero's quality, attributes and color I pick to fight against in each round. You can detect traps as well and see if auto mode can be used on a reliable way or not. The Emperor title on this challenge is often viewed as the most prestigious one, because you basically can't buy it with money. You need to have built a strong lineup, which usually takes weeks or months of planning. Having alliance members that helps you kick out players that might be contenders for that title also helps, and it's not unusual to see a player without the best lineup of the field but with more teammates winning the whole thing. Alliance Deathmatch is a very unique challenge, and if you like politics, you will love it. Although it's an alliance event, individual performances are still going to prevail as the alliance rankings are based on the top individual finisher from all alliances. So if you win the whole thing, your alliance will also win the alliance rankings. In this challenge, dueling tokens won't matter as much as in local or cross-server tourney. They won't double your points but will double the points lost by your opponents, so you can't rely on them before top 10. Use challenge tokens for the first 3 days instead. The first round, cutting the field to top 500, is pretty much a cakewalk as long as you don't forget to show up. Finding targets is easy as you can just look up on the rankings who is getting focused, search through alliances to eventually find that player, and challenge him until you run out of heroes. It's a good day to farm quality XP without needing dueling tokens. The second round is also easy as there are still some weak players to attack, but making into the top 100 cut is harder. Top players with high KP and a good lineup are still safe though, and if you're one of them, you can map a couple of other strong players during this round, based on who finished on top of the rankings on the first round. The third round, on the other hand, is literally a bloodbath. Making into top 10 is a feat of strength by itself. Usually half the spots are taken by players with a significant kingdom power lead over the rest of the field, but other contenders will fight as hard as they can to get a spot on the bottom half. On this round, your baseline will be very important. If it's not strong enough, you won't be able to make enough points to secure a spot in top 10. And since final rankings are usually pretty tight, it can make all the difference. After that, top 10 is all about politics. If one or two players are far ahead and more powerful than anyone else, they will be able to dictate who is going to get kicked out on each round. Do not underestimate how big a gap of kingdom power can be. Say your kingdom power is 2 billion, and top player has 2.5 billion. You can think that it's not that much of a difference. Well, this is still 500 million, and if that difference comes from your opponent wall, you'll never be able to get through round 3, except with maybe one or two of your heroes. If the field is pretty even, who teams up against whom is what will determine the final placements and players. If some of your alliance members also made top 10, you can work together to rule those last rounds. You are most likely to face the same alliances on every alliance deathmatch events, so if you're a top 10 regular, you will quickly understand that it's usually the same players that make top 10, and having a way to chat with them, on Discord for example, will help to form gangs, or trades for rankings. If you make top 10, pretty much all your day will go into it, so be sure to have a light agenda on that day. Here only your wall is going to matter. You're facing 9 though opponents, it's unlikely that your baseline heroes can break round 3, unless you have a huge kingdom power lead. A final note, do not forget that auto mode is disabled when you get close to the end of local and cross-server tourneys, and every last 30 minutes of each alliance deathmatch round. You probably will need to get screwed once to remember it forever, but I had to warn you anyway because if you wait for too long, you won't be able to score many points in a short period of time and this may cause your doom. For all PvP activities we have been through, some heroes have improved paragons to help you get an edge over your opponents. These 12 heroes are called Zodiac heroes. 4 of them are pretty straightforward. Military Zodiacs can get up to 100% increased damage on tourney activities. Demir, Michelangelo, Farley and Dagama all have this specific paragon. The 8 others work differently. On each round, the game will compare your Zodiac main attributes to his opponents. If your Zodiac score is higher than the hero he is fighting, your Zodiac will gain a damage boost, up to 100%. This is the same as military Zodiacs. On the other hand, if your Zodiac score is lower than his opponent, your Zodiac will deflect the damage he is taking, up to 100%. This means that if the Zodiac paragon is maxed, he will take 0 damage during the entire fight. For Nicholas and Subutai, the checked attributes score on each fight is inspiration. For Dilnayad, Skanderbeg and Kelton, it is fortune, and for Blake Boom, Leo Dante, and Itzel, it is provision. This doesn't mean they are invisible if they deflect all damage. Remember that there is a 200 attacks limit on each round, and whoever has the highest attributes is considered winner. They can still lose to a hero with very high attributes to begin with, and even if they attack and deal damage, this might be not enough to end the fight with more hit points than their opponent. I'm pointing it out because there are still debates on how you should build those 8 Zodiacs with the deflection paragon. It is unclear if you want to raise their attribute of choice to benefit from the increased damage, or if you want to avoid it on purpose and raise their other attributes instead to deflect damage 100% of the time. The increased damage buff scales very well, and as your Zodiacs get bigger, hitting twice as hard is really powerful, but being able to take no damage is also impressive. Since testing doesn't show a clear winner here, you're free to build them as you like. If Zodiac heroes are a great tool to have in your tourney arsenal, they also ask a lot to be efficient. You need to unlock all 12, all their maidens, and get 100 Zodiac cards for each of them. Needless to say, you need to raise their quality, and the lack of 7 stars skills means you are going to sacrifice some kingdom power along the way. And if the 150% bonus to all attributes is a good paragon, it still is less powerful than the best all-around heroic maidens or event heroes, or than a maxed paragon of a good specialized hero. You will also need to work on their maidens, so you will have to give them a lot of charm, and having 12 additional maidens dilutes your visit efficiency. All things considered, Zodiac heroes are worth the trouble, but will ask for a lot of planning and dedication. This truly is a long-term plan that you should consider as soon as possible, because 12 heroes is a lot in your lineup, so if you already have too many heroes, you probably will have to play without them and skip them entirely. They are somewhat easier to get as time goes by, and the recent Dilnayad skin that put his all attributes bonus up to 220% is incredible. This could also mean that with time, they will all get a skin, making them even more powerful. But they doesn't seem very friendly to free-to-play players. Granted, you now doesn't need to spend a lot of money to build them, but no spending at all seems too much of a wall still. That said, if you're considering spending $150 to unlock auto mode and be competitive on PvP activities, the money invested could really help you to build them as long as you stay careful and don't throw gems into the drain. A final word about Zodiac heroes: it is an all or nothing situation. You either go for all 12, or none at all. Don't stay in the middle of the road with 4 or 5 of them, it will hurt you in the long run. And this concludes the Tourney Compendium series. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you around soon with some new content to come. Bye bye.